Hello and welcome to Shought Thorts, the bite-sized interview show where I ask your favourite people in the gaming industry a bunch of somewhat silly questions. My name's DC Bradshaw and my guest today is Tanya Floaker. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
All right, here we go then. For those who don't know you, could you please describe the creative thing or things you do, but only using words of one syllable?
Okay, games, weird, dice, tokens, feels.
Whereas technically tokens isn't, but I'll let you have it. It's absolutely fine.
Oh!
It's absolutely fine. If B. Dave Walters has to check, whether movies works or not, I think that basically is carte blanche for anyone else to get away with anything else. It's fine. Question two, then. If you were a pirate captain, what would be the name of your ship?
My ship would be the Jolly Cornelius.
Ooh.
Ooh, there's a whole underlying current here.
Oh, let's hear it then. Well, where? I mean, Jolly, that's fine. It's pretty much the standard intro to any ship, but Cornelius.
The Cornelius. So, I wrote a short story called The Jolly Cornelius to go alongside another role play game. So, check out Terminal, it's in the back of that. But where my thinking comes from is I'm a huge Michael Moorcock fan. Okay. And so the whole sort of like multiverse eternal champion thing is big. And so any other fans out there will know that JC and the name Cornelius has a whole sort of ripple through the whole of that sort of multiverse. And so it's this idea of a ship that is both sentient but has regained its own sentience from a sort of more controlling hive mind situation. And it's also sort of trying to find its own balance between law and chaos. And so, yeah, I've done a whole thing there, and that would be my ship because I dreamt it up
Like that.
with the help of Michael Moorcock.
When in doubt, steal from someone else. Or, take ideas, be inspired by, but basically steal.
Well, Michael Moorcock has opened up Jerry Cornelius for multiple use. That's a whole thing. So,
Marvelous. Okay, question three. What's your favorite mindless fun popcorn movie?
well, we're recording this at Christmas, so I have to really say Die Hard. Come on.
Nice, nice.
I'm a role play gamer, and every little moment in that is so perfect. If you take it like he's on the plane, it opens on the plane. The random person he's talking to beside him says, "You gotta take off your shoes and feel the carpet." When you get there, he does that. But then what does that cause? Oh, he's running about barefoot and they shoot out the glass. Oh, the pain your characters put through. Brilliant stuff. 10 out of 10 every time.
Such a good film. And I do believe the shoot the glass scene and other bits where Alan Rickman has to speak German are the only bits of very dodgy German because over time, originally it was like done by whoever the stunties that they had doing it. They
Hmm.
did the German dialogue and apparently it wasn't good. And then when they dubbed the film into German, they're like, well, let's just take the German actors' dialogue. No one's going to recognize, oh, that's not that stuntie's actual voice. So they dubbed that over. But obviously, you'd notice if it wasn't Alan Rickman suddenly.
Yeah,
So Alan Rickman's is the only dodgy German in Die Hard, apparently.
there you go. Ah,
I don't speak German, so I cannot confirm or deny this, but choose to believe it.
answers on the back of a postcard.
But excellent choice, excellent choice. And yes, that's us officially confirming it. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Deal with it. If you could have a miniature version of a mythological or fantasy creature as a pet, what would it be?
For me personally, I'd probably take a little griffin. I've got a soft spot for the old Games Workshop griffin.
Yeah.
The sort of their mid term sort of like maybe in the one they had out in the 90s. You sort of
Yeah.
yeah. So just having that be animate and alive would have some nostalgic reminiscence for me. But I think I'd have to pick a dragon because I think my 7-year-old would want me to have a dragon. And sometimes you just got to pick for your kids.
Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. I think both of them are very, very good choices. Dragon comes around a lot as an answer on this one.
Yeah.
And it's like anytime anyone says it, I'm not even going to be disappointed on this one because it is such a good choice.
Yeah.
The idea of a weeny little dragon is just so cute.
Or maybe just this dude here.
Yeah, that works.
There you go.
Why not?
Sometimes a weird little dude's all you need.
Question five. What's your favorite swear word or phrase that's not actually swearing?
I go about saying golly mollies a lot sometimes.
Nice.
Golly mollies. That comes out. that shoot, I use shoot all the time.
Hmm.
You know, I work in a school when I'm not writing games, so I've got quite a few go-tos that are not sweary words. Oh my, golly mollies, and shoot come out my mouth several times a day.
It is a thing. I was a teacher, so in my mind, there's always the mental switch of,
Mm,
I'm in front of kids, and therefore, no matter what happens, more or less, you go to those go-to
yeah.
either bowdlerized words or stock phrases that aren't too cringeworthy, but they work perfectly well. But golly molly's lovely. That just sounds nice. I like that. If you had to sing a Disney song at karaoke, what would you choose?
This is probably the hardest question you could ask me because there's some bangers in amongst there. The thing is, I kind of feel like having a youngster now, all the sort of newer songs totally are fresh in my mind. Because once when I was younger and taking my little cousins to see films and such, just aren't as fresh anymore. So I'd probably be really cliched and pick something like Let It Go or just one of the current crop of bangers.
Absolutely fine. I mean, that's the thing with karaoke. It's having fun. And the fact is, if you choose something like that, there will probably be some audience participation as well, which always helps, I
Yeah,
feel.
yeah, lots of cover. Everybody singing means I'm lost in the mix. That's
If
a
there's
good
a little
thing.
wobble in there, it's fine.
Yeah. I think a little wobble would be an improvement, but sure.
All right, question 7. If you could have a magical item to make your day-to-day life just a little bit easier, what would it be?
I would love a magical ring that when I put on the ring, suddenly I would split into two different versions of myself.
Ah.
Okay. And we would go about our separate days and lives. And then when we come back together, we'd put the ring onto one finger and re-merge and have all the memories and all the experiences in one person.
I like that. We had Rich of Hatchling's Games gave a similar answer about, essentially be able to get lots of things done by if you could, clone yourself or something like that. But I like about the bringing back together the experiences. I'm a particular fan of the X Factor run in Marvel Comics. Not X Factor as in the show for people listening who've never seen X Factor, but it's a run with the Jamie Madrox multiple man character who can indeed split himself apart. And one of the running things in that is that he doesn't quite know how many copies of him there are out there because he sent a load out into the world to go and do things and then reabsorb them and bring back their experiences. And sometimes they went rogue and just lived their own lives. And every so often they come back with, years and years of experiences that he merges into his psyche. So
Hmm.
I like that.
I just think it would allow you to have more life experience, more angles and things, and maybe open you up to more empathic connection overall. I feel like that'd be something quite wonderful.
What's a book that you think everyone should read?
Ooh, there's quite a list of them. Ones I always lend out and never see come back. It's probably the ones to choose from.
It's true.
So Alexander Berkman's What is Anarchism?
Hmm.
I feel like it's a misrepresented topic.
Yes.
And I think, although there's a few anachronisms there, it was written almost 100 years ago, it's still very clear to understand. So that, or for something fiction, Wizard of Earthsea. I love that book.
Nice.
Just to kick off the whole like Earthsea stuff. There's better in the series, but like that'll kick it off.
It is a book that sadly I've only partially read. My dad recommended it to me and got me a copy.
Mhm.
And when I started reading it, I can't remember what was going on in my life at the time, but I wasn't in a great headspace for reading a book. So I got a few chapters in. I was kind of enjoying it, but I wasn't quite keeping up with it, which is unusual for me, without sounding too egotistical. Generally I'm not terribly baffled by a plot. And I never went back to it. And at some point, I definitely need to pick it up again and read it because,
Yeah,
yeah, a number of people saying that it's a fantastic book. Absolutely.
yeah, I really love it.
Question 9, always a tricky one, this one. What's the creative thing you've made or done that you're most proud of?
It's always going to be the game I'm working on, isn't it? I'm always working on something or some things. Up to now, it would have been a different game, but right now it's a game called Mum Chums. Basically, it's a guided freeform, sort of diceless, GM-less game about being someone who cares for a kid. So you basically create your caring character. So mostly mums, but it could be like grandmothers, dads,
Yeah.
like grandfathers, other family, kinship carers, that kind of thing. You create your character and then you detail the relationship you already have with the person sitting to your left.
Okay.
So you create this relationship map, a bit like a fiasco or something where you have a circular relationship map going on with the the person to your left and right. Everyone else, you maybe don't know them,
Yeah.
but you know these people. Then you create your kid. It's about the start of school,
Okay.
or that sort of age where they're just getting to 4 or 5 years old. You create them, and then they randomly end up with two relationships going across at different ways.
Okay.
So you've got the second relationship map, which is a web of your kids' relationships. That's where the sort of like story focuses in on different parts here. When you're creating your character, there's things that are maybe burdens you're carrying and worries you have and things going on. And then you've got your kid who's got maybe a relationship you're really sort of like, oh, it's really good that they've got that connection. And they've got another one where you're like, oh, there's something not quite working between them that needs to be fixed, or it's not quite as fruitful as you'd hope. And so you sort of zoom in and out on these different points, and as you go around, build these sort of scenes, sort of zooming in on small moments over the school year, but with big time jumps between them. So it isn't just like one scene of conflict, one scene following from that conflict. It sort of zooms in, zooms back out, zooms in, zooms out.
It's wonderful.
It's basically the first time I sat to play it. Normally, when I do my very first play test of a game, it's a bit ropey. It's not quite there.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to change it. First time out, it worked perfectly, which is the only time that's ever happened for me. And I was like, okay, I've got to put that out there. And so I've been playing it a bit more, and it just keeps working. And I've also nicked confessional scenes from inspectors.
Okay.
So during play, someone can call for a confessional scene where you cut to the future, where the person's in the studio talking straight to camera.
Nice.
And they get to monologue about the scene you're just cutting from before cutting back to that scene. I'm doing cuppa scenes. And so there's a cup in the middle of the table, and it's also recommended you brew a pot of tea for this. You've got cups in the middle of the table, and at any time someone can take a cup, pour it, you cut to the future, and it's them talking about the events we've just cut from their perspective to an off-screen person they're having a cuppa with.
I really like that. And I like the idea of having the cup there so that you can just immediately do it without having to say you want to do it, just by picking it up in and of itself. That's the action. And it means, I mean, undoubtedly this is what comes through in playthroughs, that obviously you can leave the door open for, I wish that had gone the way I thought it was going to, and which it means you just laid down the gauntlet for someone else to have this twist at the next time jump of actually those seeds that planted went in a completely different direction to the way anyone thought.
And it's very explicit that this isn't someone telling exactly the truth, it's giving their perspective to someone else over a cup of tea, so you can play loose with it. It's not, yeah.
That's brilliant. I look forward to playing that one. That sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
And finally, could you please give us your favourite inoffensive, groan-worthy dad joke?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
An interrupting cow.
An interrupting cow.
Moo!
And there we go. That was, I think I heard that the first time from an episode of Vicar of Dibley, which is perfect for all these. I mean, not all of those were inoffensive. There was a fair amount of innuendo in those NCs to Vicar of Dibley, but that is a personal favourite. So thank you. I've not heard that one in years.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for just having me on and asking me such amazing questions.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this. If folks have enjoyed the insights into the brain of Tanya Floaker, where can they find you on the internet?
Usually chatting on Blue Sky. I've got an itch page, and I've got my Kickstarter page. You can see them all in the doobly-doo, I'm sure.
Absolutely everything with there in the description. Whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on a podcast, check the description for all the good stuff, especially, as you say, the Kickstarter. And thank you out there for watching and or listening to this. I'm DC Bradshaw, and this has been Shought Thorts with Tanya Floaker. Hope you have an amazing day. Take care.